Kansas State Research and Extension's Post-Rock District Family and Youth Development Agent. I am Nora Rhoades, and I am here in Osborne County tonight, getting ready to discuss with you during our Mindful Daily series some back-to-school strategies for success for all ages. So if you are here, go ahead and let me know that you're here by sharing something that you would like to have time for. And while we do that, I am going to get my second device going so that I can see any comments that you guys share throughout our meeting. Can you hear me, Daphne? Maybe. All right. Yes? Okay, great. That's great. Like I said, I'm just going to get this up so that I can see. The writing is backwards on my sign. I kind of wondered if that was going to happen because of the video. I will adjust, and we won't be doing as much writing as we dig into the video. So I think what will happen is when I hit publish the live video, then the technology flips it around, and then the rewatch is appropriate. But I will type here what I was hoping to share, and we'll just kind of move forward with that. I have some, it'll make me draw more pictures if anyone wants to see pictures, because that you'll be able to see regardless of the direction. So I apologize for that. So share something you would like to have time for. So I'm going to be commenting as myself, Nora Rhoades, in the comments section as we kind of dig into this topic. It's a back to school topic, but it is definitely relevant for anyone. And I don't even have kids in school, and I feel like whoa, school is here, anxiety and stress and kind of excitement with that, because I feel like whether you have a kid going to school or not, your whole community reshapes itself for the school season. So we're going to dig into some different things about that. So let me know in the comments. Share something you would like to have time for. And get ready to move into our conversation. So time is a special resource for anyone trying to meet family, work, community, and personal needs. Some say time is the most valuable of all resources because it is limited. Others think that time is endless, thinking they can always do their tasks at another time. So I guess it depends on what your perspective. So you wish you had more time for Kim for a sit-down supper. I wish that I had more time for group physical activity. I work my physical activity into my routines, but I really do enjoy working out with groups. So that's something that I would list if I was an audience member instead of presenting. So please feel open to sharing that. We are going to talk a little bit as we begin this conversation of back to school mindfulness about time, because time is definitely a unique resource. Time is measured. It's measured by the clock. It's measured by the calendar. It's measured by the season. It's measured by life stages. And time is measured by the school year. Time is limited. It is something that we only have 24 hours of each day. Everyone has the same 24 hours, and it's how we use that 24 hours to our advantage. Time is unique, okay? It is not so much time management as it is how we manage ourselves through the constraints of the time that we are given, the 24 hours that we are given. Time is perishable. It is something that once it passes, we're not going to get back. Okay, we cannot store it for future use. time actually has value. It has a dollar value. And especially if you're thinking of the workplace or the school day, time has a value of, I don't know if you've ever heard the proverb, time is money, right? Well, time also has value that cannot be measured with dollars and cents. It can be measured by quality time or by priceless moments as well. There definitely is value with time. The key to time is to find satisfaction and enjoyment of life. So throughout our conversation here this evening, I'm going to talk a lot about balance and finding balance throughout different components of your life. However, balance is something that we strive for, but we need to understand that it's very, very difficult to achieve. When I think of balance, I visualize this. Okay, a scale, right? Okay, it's straight line, same sizes, it's balanced out. And if I'm thinking about my crazy busy life, I would probably put lots more boxes on my scale and hope that the scale doesn't tip one way or another. And if I'm truly managing all parts of my life, then I have achieved balance. Okay? Well, how realistic is that? I mean, we always strive for that, but it's not very realistic. We would find a lot of disappointment in life if we truly thought this was the only way to find success. So I'm going to talk about balance tonight, but really what are the reward of reaching our goals and being able to set priorities and work through life in a successful fashion is to find satisfaction. So here's my visual of satisfaction, okay? I think of me, so this is me. I'm a part of the reward of satisfaction. I also think about the adults that I do life with, whether it's a partner or my coworkers or the community members that I work with. So that's also a part of satisfaction, and we're connected here, so I'm going to extend our arms. I also think of the little people that are part of my life. So that could be children, it could be the students that I work with, it could be youth that I engage with in the streets. So I also see them, and we're connected as well. That's part of satisfaction. When I think about achieving life satisfaction, I need to think about where I live, where I work, and where I play. So I like to draw little huts to kind of describe that for me. Maybe there's little corners where I engage with different environments where I live, work, and play and engage. We travel lots of different roads in life. Lots of different roads. Sometimes they're very linear. Sometimes they're very gray and confusing. Okay. But we always want to work a little fun in there. Okay. So this is kind of what I visualize when I visualize life satisfaction. Does anyone see my play on a smiley face here? So it's not quite as simple as finding balance, but really balance is much more complicated than being able to achieve satisfaction in life. And so the school year can feel a little mundane. It can be complicated. You just kind of, almost feel frozen sometimes because you're not sure where to start. Or maybe you feel like you're moving so fast because there's a lot of directions to start going now that the school year has started. But just remember, we strive for balance, but really we want the reward of satisfaction. Okay. When we think about how we manage ourselves and our families in the constraints of time that we are given, we need to think about goals. Okay, I'd write it up here, but I've learned that my writing is backwards until we hit publish, so I'm just going to chat with you guys about it. But we need to think about long-term and short-term goals, and I'm going to describe this a little bit differently than you might hear in other contexts of life. But when we talk about long-term goals in regards to achieving life satisfaction, think about your components of wellness. So when we think about wellness, it's kind of like thinking of a wagon wheel with different spokes. Okay. So this is our life. This is the reward. So this would be like pulling my smiley face down to a little dot. And then all the different components of our life make up the wagon wheel, the different parts of wellness, okay? And so when we think about our long-term goals, we want to think about all of the spokes in our life. So those spokes could be mental, physical, spiritual, family, educational, job, financial, social. All of those different areas would be spokes. Now, if you were to ask every person in your family, whether it's your personal family or maybe your work family, your school family, you would hope that your long-term goals, your visions for these spokes, for these wellness components, would be somewhat congruent. There'd be very similar pieces to that. So, for example, maybe your mental long-term goal is to go wake up every day with an optimistic attitude. Okay, maybe your physical goal is to eat a balanced meal each day. Eat balanced meals each day. Maybe spiritual long-term goals would be to grow in courage, to grow in kindness, to grow into being a less selfish individual. Maybe your family long-term goals are to make your home life happy and enjoyable. Maybe your job long-term goals are to improve your skills and your accuracy. Financial long-term goals could be to expand upon or to even start a savings account. Social long-term goals could be to get involved in community service activities, okay? So these are more broad than, and you could see how, like, even a school-age child could say that their physical goal is to be an active individual, and you could see how that would tie with your long-term goal of eating a well-balanced meal each day. Okay, so you can see how there's some congruency across the board with your long-term goals. Those are our big picture thoughts when it comes to managing mindfulness and managing ourselves throughout the time constraints that we're given each day in our life. Because remember, we all have 24 hours, but time is perishable. Once those 24 hours are gone, we cannot get it back. So our long-term goals kind of resemble my wagon wheel of wellness, and each long-term goal kind of makes a spoke of that, and then the inner part of your wheel resembles satisfaction. Okay, balance is something we strive for each and every day, but it's really difficult to achieve. There's a lot of components to be able to truly maintain all your boxes on a flat, linear, balanced scale. But it's life's more complicated than that, and we want to find the true reward throughout all of our long-term goals. So how do we do that? Well, we have short-term goals, okay? Short-term goals can be something you want to achieve in the next hour, in the next day, in the next week. As we start getting beyond 6 months, we start thinking more bigger picture towards these long-term goals. So short-term, we think about 6 months or less. Actually, you can break even your goals into medium-term goals. Beyond that, long-term, medium-term, and short-term goals. And so then your short-term goals would be anything a month or less. Your medium-term goals would be a month to 6 months. And then long-term, these big picture goals are kind of your big visions for beyond that we work toward. So what I want you guys to do right now, either at home, on scratch paper, or in the comments box, please kind of brainstorm a to-do list, okay? Well, I bet you've never done that before, right? Or maybe you have like 3 or 4 sitting in your back pocket or on your phone notes section like me. Come up with a list of like 5 to 10 things that you want to accomplish tomorrow. Or maybe throughout the rest of the week. So kind of brainstorm 5 to 10 things. This could be things like, I want to pay the rent. I want to spend time at the library with my child. I want to go to support group. I want to plan meals and buy all of the appropriate groceries for next week. We have to get to the dentist appointment on Friday. I need to check on a bill to make sure that it's correct. I need to fix the storm door. I need to go through the refrigerator and discard any leftover food that has been in there beyond the 3-day recommended length of time food in our refrigerator. I need to do laundry. I need to make sure that it's not just clean, that it's also folded and put away. I want to return a book. I need to take my child to swimming lessons. I need to put the school calendar in my phone's calendar so that I actually remember when the ball games are and when the practices are. So everyone's list is going to be different. I challenge you to think about 5 things, 5 to 10 things, but maybe you have a list of 100. I feel like sometimes my list just goes crazy like that. But what I'm going to do is kind of walk you through a way to take your to-do list and prioritize it in a way that's pretty simple and applicable, whether you are a middle school student who's just really taking responsibility for your planner for the first time, or whether you are an adult with young kids, older kids, or whatnot. So take that to-do list, make sure you have it written down or get it listed in your head. I like to use my handy cell phone. I take a notes page, and I take a notes page and write down my to-do list. I probably have like 7 notes open, depending on what to-do list I'm looking at or list I'm looking at. But what we're going to do here, let me erase this quick while you're working on your list, is start to prioritize that list. And what that list essentially is that's your short-term goals, okay? That to-do list is your short-term goals, okay? So every item on your to-do list should in some way, shape, or form align with one of your long-term goals, okay? So our spokes, one of your long-term spokes. So if it's you want to go to the bank and transfer some money to your savings account, that's going to align with that. Or you're going to pay your bills on time, or you are going to make it to water aerobics. That aligns with your mental, physical, spiritual, family, job, education, financial, or social long-term goals. So your to-do list, it's important to remember that those are really applicable ways that you're going to accomplish those longer term goals and visions for your family and for you. So take your list, and this is what I like, or what we call the ABC strategy, but I like to change it to be not just ABC. I like to use emojis and fun symbols, but you could do A as something that needs to be done right now, urgent. B as something that's important. C, something that's not so important. But I like to do it as a double star is very important. A single star is important. So like double star is urgent, like absolutely has to happen, or there are very negative consequences. Urgent very important would be like it needs to happen. Okay, there ain't no messing around anymore. It really needs to happen. And then a check mark would be something that should be done. Okay, it's important. I recognize the importance of it. There's going to be negative consequences, but there might not be a negative consequence within the next day if I don't get it done, but it still needs to be done. And then I like to give myself a smiley face for things that, you can't really see my eyes. There we go. Look, I put that on my to-do list because I really want to do that. It sounds really fun. It sounds relaxing. It sounds really beneficial to my life. It needs to happen at some point, but it probably isn't going to happen unless I accomplish these other things. So I kind of color code or symbolize my stuff, or you can color code it, whatever, with highlighters or whatever you're using. But I also, on my to-do list, so take your to-do list that you have. This is a little bit challenging. I'm trying to adjust in the moment. For those of you joining in now, we've established that when I write live, it's showing up backwards to you all, and it won't flip around. Technology won't flip that around until we publish it. And so for the benefit of those of you watching me live, as we dig into this back to school mindfulness topic, I'm trying to use the least amount of words as possible. So you have a to-do list. We've talked about our long-term goals. Those are our big visions. Those are the spokes of our wellness wheel. Okay. Our short-term goals are the things that are going to get us to having these spokes in this well-balanced lifestyle and life of satisfaction. And this is what I call my messy life of satisfaction. And our short-term goals can often be communicated through a to-do list. And so sometimes we make to-do lists, but we don't know how to use them. And so what I'm suggesting is you come up with some sort of key to label your to-do list. So things that absolutely cannot be avoided and need to happen, get a double star. Things that are very important, get a single star. Things that you really should do, get a check mark. And things that you want to do, get the smiley face. And I like to make my to-do list for a whole week. You can do a to-do list for a single day. I like to do it for a whole week. It just helps me plan ahead a little better. But if you do it for a whole week, then what you can do is you can put your double stars, and then you can put like an M for Monday, T for Tuesday on what day you plan and you intend to accomplish that task. And then if I put like water aerobics, I want to go to water aerobics, and I put a smiley face by it, I'm going to put a W because I know water aerobics happens on Wednesday. Or if I want to fix the storm door, I'm going to put a check mark next to it because it should happen, but it's probably not quite as urgent as maybe my rent check that is due to my landlord tomorrow. So I'm going to do fixing my storm door on Saturday. So I'm going to put Saturday next to that. So you can kind of see how using that to-do list helps with that. So kind of as you think about that and you put your key, assign it to your to-do list, I'm going to ask you some questions and rate yourself yes or no throughout this. So or you can either comment if you want, but otherwise just internally answer this or tell whoever you're sitting in the living room watching with what your answer would be. I start the day by thinking through what has to be done. Yes or no? Do the important tasks? I do the important tasks during my best time. Okay, so my best time of the day is when I tackle the most important tasks on my to-do list. Yes or no? I know exactly what I want to get done. When I approach one of the items on my to-do list, I know exactly what I want to get done. Yes or no? I never leave jobs before they are complete. So when I start something, I'm going to finish it before I move on. Yes or no? I delegate the work around the home rather than doing it all myself. I delegate the work around my home rather than doing it all myself. Yes or no? I frequently have control of my own time. I anticipate crises and I have a plan on how to respond to those situations. Yes or no? And that can be where you live, where you work, and where you play. I make one trip by grouping errands together rather than making several trips. Yes or no? I set reasonable deadlines for myself. I seldom become distracted while working in my house by the TV, by social media, by friends. I make sure that the important tasks get done first. So when I have my to-do list, I put my double stars, my single stars, my check marks, and my smiley faces down. And I'm going to start with the double stars, not start with the smiley faces. Yes or no? I say no when an immediate request does not fit my use of time goals. So I have a clear understanding of when to say no, and I'm really comfortable saying no when an immediate request does not fit my use of time goals. Yes or no? I know that I will finish projects that I start. So I'm pretty confident that I, under normal circumstances, will finish a project that I start. Yes or no? I often take my time when making important decisions. I don't feel rushed to make important decisions. I feel able to handle many jobs at a time. So I'm comfortable multitasking. I can handle many jobs at a time, whether that's at home, at work, or at play. So how'd you do? I know when I was reading through this in preparation for this evening, I thought, oh, there's some aha moments there with my time management strategies. And that's kind of the intent of this exercise. So if there were any aha moments and you're comfortable sharing them, you sure are welcome to, or anything that maybe caught you off guard and you want to dive in deeper during the live. I'm not going to be able to comment directly on your comments. But afterwards, I will definitely go back and I can reach out to you and we can continue this conversation to kind of decipher that. Or I'll try to read your comments and we can dig into them as a group if you're comfortable with that. So how'd you rate? Right? There's probably some things that you're like, yep, but other areas where you're like, no, I probably need to take a step back. Those maybe no answers have created some stress. Well, stress is tied to how we manage ourselves during our constraints of time. Stress is defined as the wear and tear on our bodies caused by our lives. Okay? It involves physical, mental, and chemical adjustments that our bodies make to the changes in our lives. Some stress is good stress. There's a lot of stress that's good. It motivates us, it challenges us in our lives. If your life is without stress, then you are probably not finding true satisfaction. You're probably just at like a steady plateau and you're really not, you should never really be satisfied. You should always be striving and finding that healthy stress to help you continue to grow and develop as an individual. However, when the demands of your life exceed your resources, you can experience the damaging effects of bad stress, which is what we call distress. You can control your stress through effective time management. That is one way that we can help control our stress, and that's why they are connected. It is important to identify periods when you feel stressed out. So for some, the start of the school year is just like a, whoa, I don't like this school year. It's a challenging part of my year. It's a challenging part of each day for me. It creates a lot of negative stress in my life. For other people, the school year creates a lot of positive stress in their lives. And so it's important for you to take a moment during this transition into the school year to be thinking about what type of stress the new school year. And I mentioned that, you don't have to have kids in the school system to be walking through the door every day, or you don't have to be a teacher in the school system or a coach to feel that the start of the school year impacts your life. I don't have kids in the school and I don't work in the school, but I definitely have felt that, oh, the school year started. My whole community has shifted to this school year mindset. And that's created some stress in my life, both good and bad. And so I'm working through this same process as I'm sharing with you to kind of figure out how I can use time management as a way to twist that stress into my own advantage. When we think about stress and the school year, we need to think about the transitions that it creates in our life and how we might be able to use those transitions to our advantage. So we a lot of times have commuting, and you can think about this for your school age kiddos, for the teachers, for the coaches, for you. Think about the next activity that you're going to be riding the bus for, driving to, or walking to, and how can you use that transition time through your commute to prepare for the next activity, or maybe as an opportunity to relax. We know that shared family time is important, so maybe that shared commuting time is an opportunity to turn the radio off, turn the cell phones off, and to just have a genuine conversation because maybe the new school year is frustrating you because you aren't going to get the shared meals that you were able to enjoy together as often as you were during the summer. It's important to help each other. So like I mentioned, our long-term goals, since I can't write them out, we're kind of using this wagon wheel as a visual. our long-term goals are kind of, they create a wellness wheel, and our center part is the reward. And this is how I visualize life satisfaction for me. So this is me. This is the adults that I'm surrounded by at home and at work. And these are the little people in my life, whether it's my kids or the youth that I work with. And then these are all the places that I live, work, and play, my commutes, and the added rewards. So we strive for balance, but we understand that true life satisfaction is the genuine reward here. Our long-term goals are these spokes. So that's mental health, physical health, family wellness, it's satisfaction at your job, at school, and all of those are components. And then our to-do list, the intimidating to-do list, is our attempt of being able to manage and to work through our short-term goals, which is going to help us make sure that our wagon wheel stays a wheel shape and we don't end up with a flat. I'm losing my marker here. Let me grab a different one. But our wagon wheel doesn't start looking like this. Maybe one side gets way longer. You know, imagine if that was on a wagon train, that wouldn't have been very good. That's a flat line. You can't really see that. Okay, so our to-do list does have a purpose. It's not just something that we spend the morning doing just so we can wonder what happened to it at the end of the day. It's our way of managing ourselves through the time that we are given, the 24 hours we are given each day, in order to work towards our long-term goals. Things that we want to do is to work smarter, not harder. So ways that we can do that is that we can make sure that we are productive when the opportunity presents itself. So I talked about this a little bit earlier, but when I was doing the questionnaire, that's when I mentioned it. Do you work on your most urgent projects, your double star projects, your most important projects when it is your most productive time, when it is your prime time, your best time? So that is the time when your body naturally has the most motivation and to get it done. Okay, so this is when you really want to dig into the most urgent things that need to be done. You don't want to skip to the smiley face activities, because those are the activities that are probably the easiest to get to when it's your lowest point of the day. So focus on the hardest, the most urgent things to your best time of day. Some people, it's the first 30 minutes when they wake up. Other people are night owls. For me, I'm kind of like a mid-afternoon person, and so I really like mid-afternoon. So you have to really think about when your prime time is and how you're going to take your to-do list. Remember, this is very, very urgent, important. This is things I should do, and these are things I really want to do. They sound fun. And you want to make sure that you sneak those activities into your prime time. We also want to make sure that you use bits and pieces of time. So school brings us lots of activities, right? Well, if you mapped out like a 30-minute schedule of a day, I think you would be surprised how many 10-minute gaps you have in your day when it's like hurry up and wait, right? Is that like what the school year is like? You hurry up and then your kid just waits at school for the bell to ring. Or you hurry up to get to the doctor's office and then you have 10 minutes in the waiting room. So how can you use those bits of time to read a book, to have a genuine conversation with the person you're with, to get some exercise, to plan ahead? Can you do your meal planning while you're sitting in the waiting room? Can you plan out your grocery list? Can you take care of a bill? Depending on, what your to-do list has, what your short-term goals have, you can work those into your bits and pieces of time so that at the end of the day you can have larger chunks of time where you can work on your smiley face items, such as going to water aerobics, which is the example that I shared. We want to prevent problems. We want to be proactive. We want to be a communicator. We don't want to jump to conclusions, and we don't want to have misunderstandings. So if someone gives you instructions, it's a really good idea to repeat those instructions back to make sure that you fully understand what is expected of you so that you don't have to retrace those steps later on. And the same is said when you're giving your student or your child instructions, provide them with an opportunity to repeat that. This is just active listening in real life situations. So make sure that you confirm understanding. Write down times and dates. That all reduces confusion, and make sure all members of your family are aware of where those resources can be shared. That is one downfall I know in my life. I'm a very techie person, and my husband is not. Yeah, he has tech capabilities, but he doesn't feel comfortable planning out his day on an electronic calendar, whereas that's my preferred way. And so we've really had to work through this writing things down in dates to reduce confusion strategy to something that we can meet in the middle on. So you can't assume that all members of your family understand the same thing. And I also have really young children who certainly cannot use the technology to their advantage for that. So it's important to prevent problems and to think about ways that you can avoid misunderstandings and avoid jumping to conclusions. We want to protect our time. We want to teach children to protect their time as well by walking the walk as adults. So it's important to think about when we are too involved, when our plate is too full. It's okay to be active. It's important to be engaged. However, if you're over engaged, then you're going to be doing everything to a lower ability. You're going to lower your expectations on all fronts, and you're not probably going to get the greatest reward out of each experience. So if it's important for you to engage in extracurricular activities, that's fine, but choose wisely so that you truly can get a 100% reward from a 100% effort with each activity, because you'll find that you start dragging yourself to different activities once you're over involved. And that happens in the workplace, it happens during the school year. And it's also important with protecting your time to remember that we need brain breaks. We can learn, we can engage, but we also need time to allow our brains and our bodies to process everything that we've experienced. And so if we provide even just a 3-minute to 5-minute opportunity for us to, to kind of debrief, to consume and process, and to allow our brain, which is like a massive filing cabinet, to put all our information where it needs to go, then we're going to be more ready for the next experience. And that's what you can do in those nooks and crannies of life too. When you hurry up and wait, you can allow yourself that debriefing time. We want to avoid procrastination. So let's stop putting off what must be done anyway. You have to pay rent. This is an urgent item. If you don't pay rent, there's going to be negative consequences. So why put it off till the day before the deadline when you could pay it a week in advance if you have the financial means to do so? So the goal on our to-do list is to avoid having to put double stars next to items. It's okay to have important things that need to be done. It's okay to have things that we should do, and it's okay to have things that we really want to do, but it's these double star urgent items that we want to eliminate from our to-do list as often as possible, because when they do pop up, like a kid with an ear infection, or maybe a sports injury, or a flat tire, or an unexpected project at work, you want as few as possible of these, because if you have like 4 or 5 of I absolutely have to do these on my to-do list, how do you prioritize that? It gets very difficult. We want to simplify when possible. So always think about ways that you can work smarter, not harder. And we want to think about reducing clutter. So I always like to imagine my house. I usually try to start the week with a pretty clutter-free home, but by Friday afternoon, it tends not to look that way. And that's just full disclosure and transparency with all of you. But when I walk into the house on Friday evening, I try to put on my clutter goggles and look, where did our clutter end up? Okay, so we have this like table kind of by our front door, and I've noticed a trend of, hey, that was empty when we walked out the door on Monday, and on Friday evening, that table is a mile high. So what can I do to reduce clutter in that spot that just naturally is a gravitational pull for our stuff? So maybe it's creating a basket system or a control center or something there. It wouldn't really make sense for me to put whatever's piling up, which tends to be mail and things that we need to put away. It wouldn't make sense for me to create that station somewhere else if that's just where we're naturally going. So think about when your home is a mess, which I think we're all, we have those times. It's a weakness depending on each of our strengths. And obviously it's not one of my strengths to keep my home completely organized throughout the week. But to look where those clutter zones are and to come up with ways that you can reduce that clutter and develop a strategy to do that. Other things that you can do is to talk about routines and rituals with your family. And when we talk about routines are a sequence of actions that you regularly follow. It's like a fixed program, okay? It's a machine. So during the school year, we like to think that the way we get out the door, get to work, get to school, get our tasks taken care of is like a well-oiled machine, okay? Bedtime is often a routine in a home. So we often hear that it's bath time, we read a book, we brush our teeth, we go to bed. That's a routine. It's like a well-oiled machine. That's the process. Everyone knows what their role is. They know what their responsibilities are. There's certain things in the environment that are very predictable and safe. That's a routine. The more routines that you can have in your environment, the more comfortable you're going to be feeling working through your to-do list. And when these double stars do pop up, you're going to be able to address the ear infection, address the flat tire, and then you're going to be able to bounce back to that routine. We also want to focus on rituals. And so when I told you that we were going to go live tonight, I said we were going to talk about back to school mindfulness. Well, here's where the mindfulness component comes into our conversation. Mindfulness is, the definition of mindfulness varies depending on what you're reading or who you're hearing it from. It's kind of a buzzword right now, but it's actually something that's been a part of cultures and human day-to-day happenings and how we survive through life for many, many generations. Mindfulness is being in the moment. So it's being able to focus on where you are right now in that exact moment and to push out the negativity, to push out the other thoughts, and to really, truly, genuinely be where you are right now. This is where we want to think about our rituals in our home. So we have our routines, but rituals are activities that provide unconditional acceptance. It provides calming strategies. It provides sensory integration, and it provides belongingness and mindfulness. Okay, so we have our routines. Routines are what get us from point A to point B. Okay, the rituals are what make us get there in a fashion that the stress doesn't overcome us and become distress. So mindfulness is being in the moment. It's being able to push out those negative thoughts. You want to think about your mindfulness, but you also want to think about being able to respect the mindfulness of your child. So this means that you're able to take a step back and to walk in their shoes, or maybe the mindfulness of your coworker, because we each experience mindfulness a little bit differently. It essentially means that you are capable and you have a ritual where you can slow down. You can take a breath. You can observe what's happening around you, and that would be like, your emotions, what's your body experiencing, and to be truly taking in what's around you. I kind of imagine, like watching the sunset and truly enjoying that sunset. You're not thinking about the bills that need paid when you're really, truly taking in the moment of a sunset, or if you're doing meditation, or you're really taking that deep breath in and you're thinking about how that breath is moving through your body, and you're focusing your thoughts on the positive, optimistic things, and you're pushing out those negative thoughts, and you're able just to kind of let it go. And then once you've slowed down, you've stopped, you've taken a breath, you have observed yourself in that moment, you're able to proceed with possibilities. So you're able to take your to-do list and you're able to say, okay, you know what, this is how we're going to tackle it now. Because there's multiple possibilities. Sometimes we can get so stressed in our lives and strained that we often think there's only one way to get from point A to point B, that we often forget that there's often many routes to get from point A to point B. And when we do take those rituals of mindfulness and incorporate them into our lives, we we understand and we can work through things more positively. So here's some different ideas that I have kind of generated as ways that we can create environments that promote mindfulness, that promote positive rituals in our life. Tech-free zones. So it's important to make sure that in your home, where you live, work, and play, there are technology-free zones. And so I suggest that the bedroom is a technology-free zone, because that way we can focus on positive sleep, since sleep is such an important part of health and wellness. The dinner table often comes up as needing to be a technology-free zone, because that's where meaningful conversations can happen. If you can't have a technology-free zone, maybe you can support your mindfulness rituals by having a technology-free time throughout your daily routine. And when we talk about technology, I don't really have enough time to dig into screen time recommendations tonight, but it's important for technology to be as limited as possible and also as active as possible. And to take into consideration during the school year, your educators are using some excellent technology-based learning resources at school. And so it's important to kind of find a balance in technology and have those conversations with your educators at school, so that you have a true understanding of what your child is engaging with technology-wise and how their rituals at home might need to be adjusted based on technology. So you don't really want to have a calming ritual that surrounds some form of technology if they've been using technology at school for multiple learning experiences throughout the day. You kind of want to create a little bit of separation with that, so that they can have a well-balanced experience. Sleep routines, like I mentioned, make sure that you don't exercise too close to bedtime. You don't eat too close to bedtime, that when you wake up and go throughout your day. If you're having difficulty sleeping and you're just not tired, you get up for 20 minutes and you color, you journal, you do something that's relaxing to wind your body down. It can create even more difficult sleep if you just lay in bed and keep turning. I love you rituals. So I talked about mindfulness rituals, ways that you can slow down, take a deep breath, observe, proceed with possibilities. That's a mindfulness ritual. And I love you ritual is something that really helps show acceptance and comfort. And that would be, your bedtime routine is we take a bath, we read a book, we brush our teeth, we go to bed. A I love you ritual associated with bedtime is you say a prayer and get a kiss from dad. Okay, so you can see how the routine is the well-oiled machine, and the ritual is that piece that really helps us feel connected. And then we also want to talk about safe places and safe people as it relates to rituals and being able to feel comfortable doing that. And so the school year takes us to a lot of different places. So we're at home, we have places where we play and we do extracurricular activities, and we have school where we learn. And it's important for everyone, whether you're an adult in those environments or a child in those environments, that you know where your safe spaces are, where you can really engage with your mindfulness rituals in order for you to calm down in a high stress situation or an emotionally stressful situation, or just to reconnect before you move on to the next learning activity. So every one should be able to identify a safe place as well as a safe person that you can engage with. Now, when we talk about mindfulness, some people really like to be surrounded by others. They get their energy from being surrounded by others, and they may want it to debrief and find that connection with self through mindfulness activities engaged with another person. Other people want to be in more of a solitary environment. They want to do that all alone because they get their energy by not being surrounded by other people. So it's important to kind of feel those rituals out with each family member, because it could be different than it is for you. It's not really appropriate to be making assumptions about what someone's safe place or safe people need to look like. So again, I just really go back to my kind of silly picture here. As the school year starts and we're trying to figure out ways that we can be, successful and healthy through this, time is something that we're all given. It's limited. We each get 24 hours a day. When time passes, it's gone. It's perishable. It's not so much as time management as it is how we manage ourselves with the time that we're given. A lot of times we strive for balance. When we set our goals, we want to a lot of people visualize life balance, and they visualize a picture of a scale where it's very linear. All the compartments of life are balanced. This is what we strive for, but it's very difficult to achieve. Life is messy. And so this is my picture of really what our true reward for life is. And as we approach this school year, what we can kind of think about, this is life satisfaction. And we need to find life satisfaction where we live, where we work, and where we play. So when I drew this, I'll erase it and draw it again for those of you that joined. And this is just my take on it, my doodle, an interpretation of what life satisfaction is. And I'm sure we all have our own creative mindset that in life experiences that would create it. But this is me. So I started with me because I, seek life satisfaction. And then I thought about the adults that I engage with, whether it's a partner, a coworker, or other adults that I'm friends with. We do life together, so we're connected. And then I thought about the little people in my life, whether it's children or youth that I assist. We're also connected. And again, you want to strive to find, yes, we're trying to achieve this balance, but ultimately the reward is satisfaction. We want to think about life satisfaction where we live, work, and we play. So these are my little huts where we live, work, and play. And then we just have I feel like life happens in little compartments. You go somewhere for ball practice, you go somewhere for band practice, you go somewhere to volunteer, you go somewhere to work. And so life happens in little compartments. And we commute a lot. I commute a lot. And so I imagine a lot of roads and a lot of paths and a lot of journeys in my life. Sometimes we run into dead ends. Some of those roads are rocky. Others are not. And then, some things are very linear and predictable, and other things are just messy. And ultimately, you always have to have that enjoyment and life satisfaction. So that's how my life turns into a satisfied, smiley face. So, we take all that life throws at us, whether it's the books, the work, the athletic event, and we take it all with a grain of salt, and we don't get discouraged and overwhelmed with the fact if our balance actually looks like this some days, and it feels like we're losing a box. That's reality. And I feel like with the changing seasons and all that happens during the school year, sometimes we feel like we accomplish this and we're not failing. We're always striving to balance out that scale, but we want to focus on the true reward with that. So thanks for joining me tonight. I don't know if we're going to do it each month or each week or what we're going to do, but I have committed to be doing some virtual mindfulness engagement with all of our Post-Rock District community members that engage with us on Facebook. And so you can join me regularly for our Mindful Daily series. And this is the type of stuff that we're going to talk about. It's life. Life is messy. I'm no expert. If you rewatch this, you'll hear that, I'm working through the research and the strategies to apply it to my own life, but I am here to kind of help you objectively think about all that is part of your life and how we can improve the quality of life in order to be the best that we can be. And that's what I'm here for as your family and youth development agent in the Post-Rock Extension District. It doesn't mean that I live on a pedestal and my life is perfect and I have all the answers, but what it means is that I am skilled to help you objectively think about what your concerns are, and that I have connections through the wonderful cooperative extension service to be able to take research across the nation and across the globe and to be able to decipher that research into strategies that work. Here, this is research in a picture that, I think when I look at it, it means something. And so hopefully you made your to-do list, you made your stars and your check marks and your smiley faces, and hopefully, tomorrow when you have a moment, you're able to kind of debrief and dissect this conversation and think about how you can be mindful throughout the upcoming school year. So leave your comments. You can contact me at any of our Post-Rock Extension District offices. We have offices in Beloit, Mankato, Osborne, Lincoln, and Smith Center. And you can contact any of those offices and get in touch with me. And I look forward to helping you reach the quality of life throughout this upcoming school year that you are truly dreaming about.